All right, Mike, let's get into that most recent commitment here on earlier on Tuesday afternoon, as we are just a few hours after recording this on Tuesday, November 24th. JoJo Johnson out of Merrillville, Indiana, three-star cornerback, former Cincinnati commit, Michigan State, Purdue, Indiana, Iowa, among the other offers for him. He committed to Notre Dame. Tell us about what the Irish are getting in JoJo Johnson and how this came together, really, after he committed 2 days after picking up the offer.
Yeah, so this is a young man who was at Notre Dame's Irish Invasion in 2019, that summer camp that did not get to happen this year. He was at the Virginia game as well with his folks. But Notre Dame just didn't, I mean, they weren't really on him, I would say, until a couple weeks ago. They kept it warm. They sent him stuff last September when Notre Dame was allowed to start officially recruiting 2021 recruits. But yeah, it really picked up in the past couple of weeks. Brian Polian, Mike Mickens led this recruitment. The offer came on Sunday, November 22nd. At that point, it was pretty stinking apparent that he was going to be committing to Notre Dame. So myself and Mason Plummer went ahead and put in future cast picks for Johnson to land at Notre Dame. And I mean, I even wrote Tuesday morning in a recruiting scoop piece that you're going to want to check out, Notre Dame fans. I was like, nothing new, just kind of waiting for him to commit pretty much. So that commitment came together quickly. But look, Patrick, you read the offer list, kind of his notable offers, rivals listed with 18 in total. But yeah, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan State, Purdue, those were the four kind of in the mix the most there. So I mean, most of the time Notre Dame's going to beat out those schools, especially for an in-state kid who's been to Notre Dame a few times. So as far as the on the field predictivity, you like what you see at receiver for sure, and the speed is what pops out the most. He's played some wildcat quarterback, a lot of receiver. He was a huge part in his high school team going to the 6A state semifinals. I believe it was 11 touchdowns, 840 receiving yards. But look, this is a cornerback commitment for Notre Dame. We talk about this all the time with the versatility of being able to play multiple positions every year. Notre Dame, it seems like they're moving a guy from offense to defense or vice versa. That could be the case with Johnson. Listed at 5'11", 170 pounds. He's probably closer to 5'10", though. But he's someone that, look, Notre Dame loves these versatile guys. And so he could move over to receiver if corner's not really working out. But I'll also add that Notre Dame loves taking receivers that they can move to corner. And they did that with, or they were at least recruiting Andrel Anthony, or three-star from Michigan, who's now committed to the Wolverines. They were recruiting him. They thought his upside was best at defensive back. Well, Johnson is this receiver, and like last year when Notre Dame was considering him, they were really looking at him as a receiver. Well, now he's been playing a lot of DB this year, so he at least has that experience. But I would say at this point in his career, he's more so a receiver than a corner. But Notre Dame, again, likes taking these receivers and turning them into defensive backs. They see the athletic traits, they see the speed. So I don't think he has the highest upside in the world, but I think he can be a solid slot guy. I'm not sure about a player comp, but someone like Sean Crawford, that is just a guy you can play at corner, nickel, safety. Like he's been moved around so much his career with that versatility. Look again, JoJo Johnson has the tools. I'm just really considering and looking at if Notre Dame's able to get him to where they want him to be. But fifth defensive back commitment in the class, Patrick. I like the take for Notre Dame. I'm not like it's a huge wow, like whoa, like this is a huge recruiting pickup. But it's a solid take. If this were a class where Notre Dame were taking like two defensive backs, then you would want it to be like two guys that are like you know what you're getting. With Johnson, he's a project, and that's not a bad thing because those projects are boom and bust kind of people. But overall, again, it's a solid commitment. I like it for Notre Dame. He can play multiple spots. He's got blazing speed. His tape's a lot of fun to watch. Great on both sides of the ball. Can help out in return game right away. So, yeah, good take for Notre Dame.
Yeah, a few things based on that, and just to go on your theme of taking receivers and moving them to DB. I mean, the first name that comes to my mind when we're talking about the current roster is Cam Hart. Obviously, a different type of guy than him. He's a 6'2", bigger receiver who plays the boundary corner, and he's Nick McLeod's backup. He's a converter receiver. And if you even look at both the receivers in Notre Dame's on the offensive side of this class, Lorenzo Styles, you can turn on the film and see what he can do as a defensive back.
Yeah.
Jaden Thomas, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but some of his
Played.
offers
Yep.
were at DB, or Notre Dame had kicked around the idea of him playing there.
Correct.
And this isn't
Correct.
me saying either of those two should move over there, but it's at least like a skill set that is good enough to play that spot at some FBS or Power Five school. So like, at least you just have it, and you have the versatility, even if both of those guys are going in, as it sounds like, and seemingly as it should be, that they're going to be playing receiver. And I'm also, if I'm not mistaken, Johnson was committed to Cincinnati as a receiver, right?
I think so. I'm not going to say that 100% certainty, but my understanding is that when Mike Mickens was at Cincinnati, that he did not offer Johnson, so that would lead you to assume he was playing receiver. I can't say that 100% certainty, but that's my understanding, Patrick. That I want to say he was committed there
Right,
as a receiver, or maybe just like an athlete, like an either kind of guy.
right, right. And I don't, yeah, they're Johnson's commitment didn't overlap with Mickens' Cincinnati tenure. I know that. I don't know off the top of my head, or I can't remember just from looking back when he
Mickens,
picked up that offer. But
right? Yeah, he picked up the offer last fall. Mickens left Cincinnati for Notre Dame in March, and then Johnson committed to Cincinnati in May,
right,
and then decommitted in October.
right, okay, yeah, I knew that it didn't overlap, but okay, so that is interesting and maybe telling a little bit that Mickens was at Cincinnati when Johnson was offered, but he didn't offer him. So maybe that just tells you, what position or whatever Cincinnati saw him in the class wasn't exclusively a corner. And really, we're getting into semantics of a prior
Oh
commitment that
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
really
yeah.
matter here.
Right.
But just to going back to the overall point and illustrating, like, you could see him ending up at a number of things, or just a skill set that translates to a few different things. And look, this is the fifth defensive back commitment in the class, and I'm not to say here that you wouldn't have taken him when you're in a 2 or a 3-person defensive class, just depending on whatever the roster might look like. Especially with, I mean, I think it could have worked with Notre Dame's current roster, just when you look at all the young DBs in the fold, and that even if you had decided for whatever reason that this was going to be a small class, yeah, he could have fit in there, or someone like him at least could have fit in
Sure.
there, just because you have all these corners with 4 years of eligibility left. And same thing with safety, where you have a lot of those guys here for multiple seasons, including 2020, that is. And but anyway, to your point of, you can take a 50B as we'll put him wherever, or he ends up on offense, just because of what else is already in here. With, like, all right, Ryan Barnes is your play him in either one, can work at either corner or safety, just good player. Philip Riley seems like he has the true corner skill. He's a big dude, but we'll see. Justin Walters is like, all right, that guy's a safety no matter what. And then
Potential
Chance
rover.
Tucker.
I would say with Walters, he could be a rover. He's just that hard hitting guy. So
Right.
yeah, I would
He's
say
not a
safety and
corner. We know
rover.
that.
Right. That's correct. Yeah.
Yes, and Chance Tucker being like cover corner, that guy's a cornerback,
Yeah.
no matter what. And then we've talked about the composition of this class a lot on these prior podcasts, but it just goes to show, like, yeah, the different types of skill sets that they have accumulated with now 5 players in the defensive back class.
Yeah. So you look at the five, and you just did a great job. Quick recap on that. So you have Barnes, corner safety, kind of hybrid guy. Riley, I want to say, is maybe even the most versatile, a corner safety rover. Like, literally could be three. He's that from when I saw him in September, I've talked about this. I feel like every single podcast we do, Patrick, but he just looks so big when I saw him. So I would say even he has the three. You have Justin Walters as a safety rover. Chance Tucker. I would not move him from corner, but with his length, he could play safety, like in a pinch, like he could be a free safety. But yeah, to me, he is a lockdown field or boundary corner. And then you have Johnson, who is a kind of corner receiver, maybe nickel. So he's like the athlete one where he could play either side of the ball. Now I'm thinking about it, I don't think any of the other Chance Tucker has played some receiver. I know Riley's played a little receiver, but to me, Johnson is the best receiver of the bunch. So if one of them's to play offense, it'd probably be JoJo Johnson as a slot guy. So yeah, the composition of the defensive back class is balanced. Like if it was a bunch of safety rover guys, you wouldn't like that in this class. You needed some cover guys. And I think they have a good mix of that. I would say the best cover guy, like true cover guy, is Chance Tucker in this class. And JoJo Johnson is raw there. I hope my opening talk on him didn't seem like it was negative on JoJo. I really like him. He's just not as maybe proven as some of the other guys. Like he really bursted onto the scene as a senior, whereas some of those other guys, all of them were committed pretty much based on their junior tape. Like even Philip Riley just committed, but last week, but he was originally committed, or that Notre Dame offered just on junior tape. So yeah, I like the take again for Notre Dame. There's just work, but I would say there's a pretty high ceiling for him. Not like crazy, a big time All American, but 2 year solid starter for Notre Dame.